And then item number 5, this is time sensitive. We need to approve the CDBG funding Iowa grant single audit form going from a multi-audit to a single audit because of the cost.
I think it's just determining that they are only required to have a single audit.
Okay.
So it's kind of a formality.
And we need to have it back sooner than later. So that is why I'd like to add that.
Do we want to discuss the other thing?
I don't know. I mean, this is kind of last second, so we got to have a change order and stuff to be able, even be able to discuss it. So I'm gonna get a hold of Tony Bating first.
Okay.
And then we'll have to do it, next meeting, I guess, or figure out something.
I think that we should still do the conduit, get it over with.
Well, I agree, but there's no change.
But if they, and when they do that, we're gonna hold their feet to the frickin' fire for any damages. And I hope everybody picked that up. Because I said in that meeting with.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. And
I think a conversation needs to happen with Tony.
Yeah.
And just see what he thinks. If we have to do a change order, then we have to do it right.
I'll call him after this, after I get done with this. So I'll call it. So I'll let you all know.
Okay, and I'll talk to you after the meeting because there's gonna be somebody here tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, so with those 2 additions, so we're gonna have the baiting, HVAC painting scope of work and the CDB funding single audit form.
Make a motion to approve the new agenda.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of Monday, August 28th, 2023 minutes.
Oh, there's a lid on me.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, present.
Second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 1 is to approve payables. Jean had a question, which raised a question with me. We did look into it and we made a contact with the EMS.
EMA.
EMA.
Post EMS, but
Yes. And their commission voted to have the county pay for it.
I didn't have any other questions. Do you guys?
Yeah, being it's all with schools, maybe it's not such a bad deal, but. Hey, a lot of people involved. I hate to start overruling our commissions too.
I'll make a motion to approve the payables of $359,731.34.
In second. There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Opposed? Motion carries.
In the past with the pay the reporter, everyone was trying to.
Everybody or just?
Item number 2 is to review the Tyler Technologies quotes. We had this on our agenda last week, but we kind of postponed it so that Courtney could have her input as well. The Board of Supervisors proposed that we went to a different pay system so that we can be in compliant with our state audits. And Tyler Technologies does offer this program that would help. We would go from a 24 to a 26 pay period. The Board of Supervisors sent out a slip that as of January 1st, that pay system would be in effect. But I'd like today to discuss or make a decision if that is going to be what we do going forward.
My turn?
Yep.
I don't think we have enough time to get this in place by January. We're gonna have all department heads be participating in this in order to make it work. Which is gonna involve training. We've got a remodeling project where we're gonna be moving. We've got election. I'm not opposed to making a change. I think it's a good thing, but I really would like to have all the department heads. Because as of right now, we've really only met with roads and ambulance about it. There's a lot of other departments that would be involved in this. I really think it's important to have everybody on board and being active in this in order to make it work. If we can get every department to participate and do this, I think it'll be a great thing. Our audit will look great. But if we have just one department that's not gonna do it, it's still gonna show up on our audit. So I really like to take the time and set up some meetings with department heads to discuss what the plan is moving forward. And I think that's the way to go with it. I just don't think while we're in a temporary space, working out of the space that's not conducive for anything, I just don't want to make any changes right now. And in order to go to a 26 pay period, we have to have some type of time and attendance, something, because we aren't going to have the turnaround time to change to every 2 weeks unless we do. Because we won't have time to put in the 88 hours. So that's my recommendation. I would like to budget for this. If we're gonna do it, it's almost $10,000 plus the other fee that we were gonna have to pay to have them switch our payroll, which I think was just under $2,000. Maybe a $10,000 expense that's not critical to function, I think should be a budgeted item. That's my opinion. I know you guys saw the email from John Gordon that stated that I was the one in charge of doing payroll. And I'm not opposed to making changes at all. And I know everybody feels like we've been pushing this down the road, but in all honesty, we talked about it, but there was really never a decision made until recently. And I just don't think it's a good time right now.
So next question, I don't do payroll, never done payroll here, don't care. When is the good time in your eyes? Let's set a
The
date.
good time is to not have the HVAC system or this remodeling project going on, being in a permanent space, not at the same time as a huge presidential election, which for my office it's hard to even do our normal jobs when something like that's going on. And I would think, obviously that's next year. So could we budget to do this in fiscal 25? We're on, that seems like years and years away, but we're in fiscal 24 right now. So maybe we set up to do it July 1st. Do it a fiscal year, not at the end of the year after a holiday. And get everybody on board. I don't know if everybody's gonna be on board. So are we gonna spend all this money and still have a couple departments that aren't gonna follow through? And then on our audit, it's still gonna say that we're not getting timesheets from everybody. And to me, if you're not gonna get everybody on board to do this, is it worth spending the money to do it? We've been doing payroll for at least 30 years. So, like I said, I'm not opposed to making the changes, but if we're gonna do it, I want everybody on board to do it because I don't want to do all this work and spend all this money and still get dinged on our audit. That seems to me.
But aren't what we're doing is legal, right?
Ish.
Ish.
It is. We're following our handbook. And like I said, we've been doing it 30 years. And to be honest with you, when the state auditors came in, it was never on our audit. It's just since the people that are doing it now. So different audit firms look at things differently. To be 100% honest with you, paying, if you want to call it paying ahead, I call it paying current. But we've only had like one instance where somebody quit and we didn't find out about it. And that I feel falls on the department head. We're not letting us know. But in the time I worked here, it's happened once. So it's not something that's happening all the time. The county's not paying people and they're not showing up for work and they're quitting. And this just doesn't happen. We're fortunate with that because I know a lot of other businesses are different. They have more of a turnover. But that being said, I'm not opposed to making the change. I think it's a good thing. But I want everybody to be on board. And there's a lot of opinions in different departments of how things should be done, and not every department is the same. So it's kind of difficult to get everybody on board, but I'm hoping that if we can take some time and meet with people, that we can get everybody on board.
So you're saying you want to meet with each department before we do this?
I'd like to have a meeting with all the department heads and talk about it. And tell them, hey, this is what we're trying to do. This is what you would be required to do in order to make this work. I got a couple of comments that feel that by doing this, that we're taking on less of a role, like we're putting our workload on the department heads by requiring them to document their hours. And I would agree that it is gonna make our process of inputting payroll much simpler, but we're not doing it to make our job easier. We're doing it because we don't have the time in between to input all the hours for each employee.
You also, so I have other comments I'm gonna make, but at this time, speaking to what you're speaking to, the other elected officials are in charge of their departments and their employees, not you, Courtney.
Correct.
And it is not your responsibility. I'm gonna hold back on that one because I'm only a fiduciary agent. In my opinion, I don't see how you would have time to know what's all going on and every employee that's there or not there, whether it's secondary roads, whether it's a treasurer or a recorder. I don't think you have time to go around and monitor, but, and that's in my opinion, just in that reference. I think it's okay that other departments take responsibility for the departments.
And I will say, I believe they are now. A majority of our departments are turning in timesheets. The problem is it's an old system, having it done manually like that. And by changing it and having those hours and timesheets uploaded electronically puts us into the age of now, not the age of 30 years ago. And that speeds up the process and allows us to be able to pay bi-weekly or twice every 2 weeks.
So I did reach out to I forget the name, the attorney's office that did the audit. Yes, just to see, and they had someone on vacation, so they're gonna get back with me. Since they flagged that as a deficiency, what would be their recommendation? A better recommendation than the one that we got.
Sure.
And I spoke with one person and other counties are doing things to alleviate the problem. So I don't know how they do them to not get dinged on that. So I would like some advice from them on how to fix it.
What I was told when they were here is that we needed to switch and be paying to expedite.
But as far as getting everybody on board, I want to know,
Oh, yeah.
are other counties doing that?
Yeah.
And if they are,
You know, and there may be departments right now that have people in their staff that aren't required to turn in timesheets. And if that's the case, then maybe it's just a statement from that department saying, you know, my employees are not required to turn in timesheets. They are exempt from reporting hours worked or whatever it is. And maybe having that on file will be sufficient for them that we're not getting timesheets for them.
But even though they make that statement, how do you regulate their vacation hours and sick leave net? You have no record keeper.
No, and I don't think it's up to,
No,
if it's an elected official's office, how do you say?
I
You know what I
understand
mean?
that.
So it's, no department's the same.
Yeah.
I think if we could get, you know, I really think that we could all work together and work with all the departments and just try to explain what we're trying to do. Maybe we can have some more buy-in rather than just putting something in, you know, the payroll.
I think we could have an issue with one department.
And, you know, and if that's the case and they don't want to do this,
It actually states in code, anyone who receives benefits from the county taxpayers is to be responsible for your hours and you need to turn it in. Unfortunately, that's gonna put you in a hot spot because I think that gives you maybe an opportunity to say, I can't approve tables.
you know, obviously I don't want it to.
I don't want you to either, because that puts you in a really hot spot. This whole situation actually puts you in a hot spot because I think the Board of Supervisors in agreement, and this is in my opinion, you guys can change my opinion, have agreed that we wanted to move forward with the system. I like the idea of budgeting for it. I don't like the idea of pushing it down the road, but we were made very clear by the county attorney, we are truly only fiduciary. What's the word?
Agent.
Agents.
No,
has no formal role in execution or implementation of payment procedures, so.
So this does all fall back on you.
Hocus pocus.
So my hands are tied. I'm done talking about it and that's my opinion. And if you want to put it in 2025, we can do that. I think if we do that,
That's what I mean, after that email, I'm just want to know when you want to do it, because obviously we have no say in
Yeah.
it, so once you set a date, we'll follow you. And we're doing it.
Well,
I do have one
I
comment.
do want to get, I want to set up a meeting with other department heads to talk about it, because like I said, if not everybody's gonna be on board with this. You know,
But they don't have to say, I mean,
yeah, but we're gonna spend, $15,000 and a bunch of time and still get dinged on our audit.
and I don't want, I would like compliance, like,
Yeah,
because it's always better to work cohesively than it is
It
to be
is.
tearing each other apart.
And whether it's just a simple simple form that, he says, well, or whoever it is, says, I'm not gonna return in timesheets for my staff because they're professional, whatever, they don't need to. Maybe it's just a template that department can upload every week that just says 40 hours, 40 hours. At least we have documentation from the department head of the hours worked, and I don't know, but I would really I want department head and elected official
Buy-in.
buy-in. And I think if we can meet and maybe everybody can air their issues that they have, maybe they don't even have any. Maybe it's just a few people that might have an issue with it. I don't want to spend all that money and still have an audit that looks like it does now, because I will feel like we might have a better process in place, but we're still in things, so.
My one comment, I was talking to another CEO and their suggestion is you do it at the beginning of the year, so your W-2s match up. If you do it on mid-year, you're gonna have some issues with W-2s.
Yeah.
I didn't
There's-
follow the
there's
whole
that.
thing,
Yeah,
but it made sense. Let's shoot this person's telling.
yeah, and obviously if we did it in January, you could still budget for it.
And I understand there's a lot going on right now, but I don't know, we're still like 4 months away from the first year.
Well, and you gotta have every department get trained on how to do this in those 4 months. Plus, we're moving in, 3 weeks? And we got an election that we're gonna try to run out of a space that's not really set up to be our space. I don't know. It's just, I think there's a lot going on right now.
Any discussion?
And obviously, when we're working on budget, this could be brought up again. I'm sure there'll be updated pricing or, or maybe it's not even a Tyler program that we use. Some city of Carroll uses Tyler and they have a different program that they use for hours. Maybe there's something better out there that would be.
Well, what I like about this program, the department head or supervisor is signing off on those times.
Yep.
Because like you said,
They're supposed to be really anyway, but
you don't know when the people are there or whatever's going on.
Scott, do you have any comment before we move on?
I don't.
So my plan was to go ahead and let department heads know that, hey, probably gonna be pushing this off, and them to let their staff know that moving forward, that things aren't gonna change in January like we had planned, but they possibly will be changing in the future. But obviously want to keep everybody in the loop as to when that's going to be.
So I don't think there needs to be a motion, and I said fact that, and I don't know if the board agrees with me, but you do a little slip of paper, just letting them know, board, in my opinion, I don't want to see it go this way. But our hands are tied. So I don't know how you want to word that, but don't put board of supervisors in my opinion.
yeah, I'm not behind this one bit, so.
Yeah.
Do not put my name, don't put board of supervisors on there.
I'm in favor of that.
Nothing to do with it.
And yeah, obviously, at some point, you as the board will have to update our handbook. Because right now we're doing payroll.
Permission to do that.
Well, right now the handbook states the way payroll's paid. And I don't have the authority to change the employee handbook. I'm basically paying payroll, just like the handbook states I'm supposed to be. So when that decision gets made and that date set, then the handbook would need to be updated just to reflect how our pay periods are running.
Courtney, Jean, Cindy, do you guys have anything else you want to add?
I would just say maybe set up some meetings with them, so it doesn't just get.
Yeah. Okay. Moving forward. All right, item number 3. Set public hearing for fiscal year 24 county budget amendment. We did do this last week, but it wasn't put in the paper correct, Courtney. So
Correct.
we just
And
need to reset a date.
we need to reset the date, and there were some other things that I found from other departments that had to be added, so.
Okay.
This would have had to be done anyway, in my opinion, mainly because the ambulance came in. And we need to pay for our new ambulance. That was a budgeted fiscal 23 expense. So we don't have the money in 24's budget to pay for the ambulance, and obviously we need to get that taken care of, along with other couple things. So I did give you guys new sheets to kind of show what's up. I'll go through those real quick. I'm just gonna look at this sheet here. You guys should have that. So we've got some revenues, basically the IEDA CDBG housing program. That's the grant that we have. That's the money that was left over after fiscal 23. And there's still some stuff going on in fiscal 24. I did not budget anything for that down payment assistance program. It's kind of hoping that would all been taken care of in 23, but it's not. They run on a different fiscal year than we do. So that's an in and an out. You'll see the revenue of 141, 177, and you'll see the expense down below. We get the money from the state and then we automatically give that right back to our Region 12. So that doesn't affect the budget. The $20,000, it's a conservation, it's a Timmerman grant. Jason informed me they got that grant. So I have that in his revenues and then also in his expenses down in capital projects. They're going to use that $20,000 to help pay for that paving project with the trail. So that you'll see as an in and out as well. After talking with the ambulance department, the transfers of $4,000, that was omitted from the 24 budget. The revenues are in there, but there was no expense in there. And that's another one that's kind of an in and out. They get paid for the transfers and then they go ahead and they pay for the transfers. So that's what that $4,000 says. The second judicial rent, that actually increased this year. It hasn't, I think they said it's been 20 years since that went up, but it went up $500 and it's the only thing in that line item that we pay. So I'm short $500. But also Jamie informed me that he had to remove the publications for $500. That was done at budget time, but it didn't reflect in the budget. So that kind of offsets the rent anyways. Down below in the capital projects, you'll see that Timmerman grant. You'll see that 247, 236, that's for the new ambulance. That's what he had remaining to spend last year for the ambulance, but it didn't get spent. And he informed me that it is here and they're going to need to pay for it. So that's what that is, coming out of his capital fund. And then the last one, that was a request from environmental health. They had significant dollars left over in their budget last year. And she had asked if she could move some of their, I'm going to call it the excess that they had in their budget into their capital fund for a vehicle. They only put about $2,500 in there every year for a vehicle. And you know, the cost of vehicles, it take a lot of years to $2,500 to pay for a vehicle. So she was asking if she can put that excess that she had from last year into her capital to pay for a vehicle in the future. So I did include that. Really, that's really the only one that I thought you might want some discussion on, but overall, those are the changes for that. I'm proposing that to hold the public hearing on September 25th at 9:30.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to set the public hearing for the budget amendment on September 25th at 9:30.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Right.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item number 4 is debating HVAC replacement and interior improvements. So originally when we started this project, there were some spaces that were not included in the original contract in reference to painting. The scope of work would be painting of the existing walls not figured to be painted in lobby, controlled hall, 2 conference rooms adjacent to the controlled hall, open stairwell, clerk of court, and men's and women's restroom on the 2nd floor. Did anybody get time to take it besides me to take a look at this?
I looked upstairs.
The total added base fee would be $5,200.
Stephanie, I did look at that and I agree we should let Beatty do it as part of the contract as far as scheduling goes.
Okay,
That's not a motion, that's just a discussion point.
I agree with Scott. I think that, to get someone else in here is gonna be a nightmare for our scheduling and availability.
I actually don't think that pricing is super out there.
It's very close. Very close.
I was just concerned that if that number was high, because you got to remember, whenever you're dealing with projects, and this is teach your own, this isn't just because we have Beatings here, but any contractor, they have the GC, then you have, because they have an add-on, then you have your contractor, they have an add-on for pricing. So if that keeps adding on, it gets expensive. My thoughts were if the number came in extremely high, we could handle it on our own and get a budget for it next year outside of the scope of work, but I'm actually okay with that number moving forward. So, and I know Tony wanted a decision this week so that they could finish up the scope of work on the upper level.
I'll make the motion if you go ahead and do it.
Second.
Change orders.
It is a change order.
Change order.
All right, so
I'll
there's a
second.
motion. There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, the next item, number 5, the CDBG funding letter that we received. We need to acknowledge that they are going to be doing a single audit form.
Just authorize.
Yeah, you guys just need to authorize that. I can go ahead and sign this, that we are going to approve just a single audit.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? I did want to throw out there too, and the reason why this came is if any nonprofit organization has not expended above $750,000 of federal funds, they only require a single audit. If you exceed that, they require more of an extensive audit. All right, there's a motion and a second. I'm gonna call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed. Motion carries. Item number 6, manure management annual update. You have D&H Pork, section 23, Washington Township changed crop rotation or optimum yields used manure analysis. Kennebec Farm, section 13, used updated Russell's 2s and P indexes. Blue Horizon Pork, section 10, Wheatland Township, no changes. And we're to committee reports.
I can go. Last week, 28th, we had the, I don't know if I made the big 10 deal, but the next day we had at 5 o'clock on the 29th, we had opiate settlements at the boardroom here. Meeting. And I have nothing to speak on the schedule.
I also went to the opioid settlement meeting last week. Also, if you didn't get it and you need it, let me know. I sent out the HIPAA training, makeup training link. Thank you. Did you get it, Mike?
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
And you could just sign the acknowledgement form and give it to Dalton, and I'm asking everybody to give a copy or scan a copy to Dalton, because he's keeping them in his location together.
That everybody
The
received the training.
acknowledgement forms, yeah.
That's just the ones that are doing online, right? Because we signed that day. We
Yeah,
there.
yes, yes.
So
If you,
it'd
if
be
you had
anybody
the
that wasn't
in-person,
present.
yeah, if you had the in-person training, this link is for people that weren't able to make it and that still need it. Yeah, and I did a lot of research on solar panels last week. And I also went on a tour of Adkins Energy in Lena, Illinois, which is the plant that is going to be having a trial run in the spring on the green methanol, where they would capture the CO2 right on the site. It was pretty cool to see where that would all take place. They're confident that it will be successful. So just trying to stay in the loop with the whole pipeline situation and understand as it comes or might come our way. And that's all I have.
Okay, I guess I go next. Last Monday, we had the HVAC meeting here. Tuesday was the opioid meeting, that education meeting. I thought was very well. Wednesday, I had Rolling Hills Mental Health Board meeting. We basically, the HHS has approved our 2018 agreement date. We were looked at a referral form that's going to be uniform, that can be utilized between Siouxland Mental Health and Plains and Season Center, that they're going to implement. We had crisis services updates from Siouxland Mental Health and also Plains area. Can you read my own writing? And then we did approve some new funding request for seasons, and that was $2,400. That was basically to do some landscaping on a piece of property that we actually own, and then enhanced therapeutic housing request for Crichton Center. We gave them $100,000. They got some of these kids that are muted, do not, you won't have parental rights. So these people become basically homeless. So they're adding some housing for these people. And then we also approved a request for Manning Regional Health Center for some play therapy request for $2,244.
Was that for children? What did you
Yeah.
say? What are
Children.
they, like teenagers? Or-
Yeah, like when especially people are tied in with the parents or other didn't get treatment. So. Okay, and then Thursday, met with Scout Clean Energy people and Sarah, and they're going to try to do the things that they need to do to get the process rolling by going through a conditional use permit and that kind of stuff. So, and then Friday I happened to be up here and I met, sat in on a meeting with Scott with the state in regard to the court system up there. They're not wanting to do their audio visual, which they want to do eventually some point in time now, later, instead of putting it in now while the ceiling is open.
No. I mean, they can, but they're gonna have to replace, the state will pay for it.
That's what I said. If they make a scratch, they're gonna pay for it.
And they will.
So anyway, but that's what I think he was debating about. We will still run our conduit because we have to furnish the power for those. We'll probably run the conduit now and that'd be it. This week, Thursday is Region 12's 50th anniversary down at Templeton. And then Friday, Siouxland Mental Health, I'm going to a ribbon cutting up to their child and adolescent center. They're building, they bought used to be Pier 1 building up in Sioux City, and they converted that into a thing. Then I'm having a meeting some point in time on solar farm again with Marty Helder.
I
My turn?
can go next.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Last Tuesday, Dalton and I had a 4:00 meeting with judicial, and that seems to have been fizzled out. Gene, recap kind of what happened on Thursday. Tuesday evening, we all attended the opioid conference. 11 o'clock on Wednesday, Dalton and I met with Luke from the DOT, trying to move forward on this, and that fizzled also. I also had a meeting with the mayor of Carroll, a representative from Housing and Urban Development there from HUD, about housing in Carroll. On Thursday, had a meeting with Jack from Daily Times Herald. He's trying to do a progress report on what's happening in the courthouse. So I toured him around. He took some pictures and spoke to some people about that. Dalton and I had another meeting on Thursday, which Gene was in, which went nowhere with the state. And that was my week. And this week I have nothing currently on the schedule.
All right, I will go last. Last week, met with Batings. Then I also was present for the opioid meeting. Going forward, I will be sending out another invitation because we're going to keep this committee going. And then I want to thank publicly all the stakeholders in Carroll County that stepped up, came out of their own personal time, discussing what we could do with some of that settlement funds, what they think is best. We haven't made a decision, but it's bringing everybody together to discuss what we think is the best outcome for Carroll County. Moving forward, I will be sending an email requesting every either superintendent or principal of every school district in Carroll County to attend the next meeting. The general consensus that I received at that meeting is we want school input and we want schools to be a part of our initiative to keep preventing children from using drugs or teaching them what to do if they're in a situation where drugs are present. So I want to thank everybody personally for that. And then going forward, you guys will see an email within this next week setting up the second meeting. This week, with Gene and I will be meeting with Martin Halber to discuss some solar farm potentials. Then tomorrow night, I have the REC dinner in Glidden. Thursday, I have Region 12 Executive Board. Then we have a policy meeting after that. And today I have newspaper, radio. Friday, I have football game, cheer camp, volleyball. I have volleyball 3 nights this weekend. Volleyball. Yes, Thursday night. We have our meeting first for the executives, and then we're going down to Templeton to celebrate Region 12's 50th anniversary. That's all for this week. Courtney?
Really don't have anything. I let you guys know I'm gonna be off for a while, starting tomorrow. Hoping to be back on Monday, but we'll see how it goes.
Do we have anything currently scheduled for
As of now, no.
okay. Why don't we go ahead and schedule not to have a meeting next week? If nothing very important comes up, time sensitive.
Yeah, you can just stay in contact with Emily and she'll let you know if something comes up.
Okay. Other than that, we're in order for motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Make a motion in a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, I know how the Republican.
I don't know how to shut this.
If I go to